Greetings, everyone. Happy World Rhino Day. Are you ready to go on a rhinoceros virtual safari with me to Africa? So, we are starting. We're going to look at this footage from Africa. The two species that live in Africa are the black rhino and the white rhino. And so, we're going to look at those. I want you just first to just notice a little bit about their behavior and the anatomy. And if you can tell a little bit about the differences between the two species, mainly it's in the head. So, hello, thank you for joining, Carolyn, and again, David and Virginia. So, tell me if you can see me and hear me. Yes, class has begun, Virginia. So, I'm going to play this. It's just like a minute, 2 minutes long, and it's just footage that I've compiled from Africa of two species. And again, I want you to try to notice if you can tell the difference. It's mainly in the head and shoulders. If you're not actually there in real life, because one of them is much bigger than the other, but you can't tell in these videos. But there are differences. And, half the battle in learning to identify and draw anything realistically is in understanding their anatomy. And so that's why I spend so much time on that. So this is the white rhino. It's not any whiter, and the black one's not any blacker. Those are just the names. You can see, well, I'm not going to tell you. I want you guys to just look first. You try to just be in your right brain, pretend you're right there in Africa. Look very carefully at the structures of the head. And another view of white rhinos. And look at the shoulders and the muzzle and their behavior. What is it doing? Look at that beautiful long hair, horn that is. Very healthy, older specimen. And of course, all the rhinos are endangered because of that beautiful horn, because they are poached for their ivory. Nice three-quarters view of the white rhino. Now moving on to the black rhino. Again, look at its face, its mouth. So the white rhino is sometimes called the white rhino because it's also known as the wide-lipped or square-lipped rhino, which you can see really well in this picture. And that big wide lip is used for grazing. So they are grazing on the ground on grass. So they have a different feeding style. And that's one way that they can live together where they overlap, the black and the white rhino, because they eat a little bit different things. And here you'll see that wide lip grazing. So they're the most common of all the five species of rhinoceros. And here it is again, grazing. So there's about 18,000. They're in Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. So mainly kind of Southern Africa. They are the largest as well, with the longest horn and up to 7,000 pounds. And they do have two horns, just like the black rhino. And here's another good view. Now, in this view, you can see another characteristic that's really important with the white rhino, this big shoulder. And we'll talk about that more and why it has that big shoulder when we look at the drawing demonstration on Adobe Illustrator. I'll show you in a minute. But their head is much longer than the black rhino and a bigger shoulder. So yeah, this is the southern white rhino. But basically, we're just going to look at some general rhino characteristics first. If you followed me for long, what I usually do, you probably know, is that I really like you to understand what's underneath the skin and muscles and ligaments so you understand the skeletal structure. Because if you understand that, it makes it much easier for you to draw something. And if you can draw a rhino, you can probably draw its relative, like the tapir, and also things like hippos, which are built very sturdy and bulky, and even elephants, which are just kind of a taller version, but not closely related. These guys are in their own order and family, the odd-toed ungulates. So, the ungulates are those groups of animals that graze in the open prairies of the Americas and, of course, Africa and Asia, and they're grazing and browsing in big herds usually. And so, yeah, they're named for their number of toes. And so, again, they're in that group, the odd-toed ungulates, which include the one-toed horse and the three-toed rhinos and tapirs. So, yeah, tell me in the chat box if you're still here. No one said hi lately, so I want to make sure you're all still here. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go over some of the things first. So yeah, so most rhino species have two horns, and unfortunately, that is the main reason they are going extinct, because they're being poached for their ivory that is used in traditional Asian medicine, as well as to carve into trinkets. Now, sometimes conservationists have been cutting their horns off or even dyeing their horn to protect it. And so we'll see if that's going to be helping. So anyway, they have a massive head, and the white rhino, as we said before, it's got a longer head than the other one, the others. And because its head is so big and heavy, it's got to have these muscles attached to this big hump. So remember when I asked you to notice that hump? That hump is because the backbone here above the shoulders, the shoulder blades are really tall. These vertebrae are really tall, and they have muscles attached to them. And so those muscles are helping to raise this huge head. And again, these guys have this big square lip, a big square lip, like right here, and they're going to be grazing on the ground, grasses. All righty. And then noticing the whole shape of the body, which again is kind of a lot like a hippo, as well as the other four species of rhinos. So they've got this, is kind of like a big boxy oval, which has their, main backbone and their short tail and all of their ribs. And sometimes you can see the ribs a bit, the lines of the ribs, tiny bit. And then, of course, all the organs, digestive and reproductive organs are in here. And then notice how short the legs are compared to the height of the animal. And so that's something you really want to notice when drawing ungulates, whether it's, a sheep that has very short legs, or whether it's an elephant, or whether it's a giraffe that has really long legs. So these guys, their legs are basically shorter than the width of the body. And that's something I like to notice right away when I'm drawing, that's going to help me to draw something. The proportions correct is, see how short these legs are compared to the height of the body. So that's the first thing you're going to want to notice. Okay. And then we really want to notice where those angles are. And so we don't want to over round things. We want to show the subtle angles. And so they have, the same bones in their body that most other mammals do, and kind of similar to humans. So we have the angle of the shoulder right here. So you're going to see that angle in the live animal. Then you're going to have the elbow and the wrist. And of course, this big hump we talked about. And then there's going to be a hump on the back of the head there. And then you're going to have the back vertebrae here going to the hips, and you'll see a hump here and a hump, kind of a elbow angle here for the hips. And then they have knees just like we do. So there's their knees. And then there's their ankles. So it's important when you're drawing something not to over round things. So I'm just going to do all four of these in just my real quick style. And we're pretending that these guys are just going to lumber away. And it's always good to practice drawing from photographs and from videos before you go out to the zoo, or if you're lucky enough to go on a safari. I always suggest people doing that. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking because it's really hard to draw and talk at the same time. So let's do this one first. And I'm just going to do them on this paper about the same size as they are, okay? Okay, ready, and set, go. You'll just see kind of how I go about it. Oops, I'm making him bigger, aren't I? I'm always wanting to do that. I'll just stay super light in the beginning. And again, you notice how boxy and heavy he is and how the legs are shorter than the body. And yeah, you probably can't see that yet, but now that I've got a little bit of I feel a little bit better here, I'm going to go ahead and get a little darker. And the eyes are super low down here. And then the horn, mainly see that front horn and a little bit of the back horn. So I want to emphasize this one. And then we've got the snout and that square lip. Remember, this is also known as the square-lipped or wide-lipped, and there's its lower lip. Okay, and again, I might keep just going. It's got a little bit of a... And sometimes when I'm drawing something that's the same on the left and the right sides, I might just draw one side. Let's see, and then I see the big belly poking out from behind the ears. So that's the bulk of the body is actually above the lip. I'll just kind of notice that. And then noticing that the shoulder hump is coming down. You can actually see the shoulder. I might just work on this left side. And you see there's a little fold of skin. And then the belly. So yeah, especially, if I'm really in the field or at the zoo, I might just kind of work on one side because I can get a little bit farther by just doing that instead of trying to get both the mirror images. So I'm just going to work on this side. And then that big muscular leg is kind of lifted. And then the other one, yeah, the belly is like that. And then I want to emphasize that leg. And again, we remember that we can see like this is the forearm there. All right. So that's that side. Okay, I'm going to move on. Let's do this one. So it's really good to draw things from different angles. And I do have this handout. Again, at the end, I'll give you a link to download these for free from my course, because I have set the Rhinoceros workshops as free previews for you guys for this World Rhino Day. So you'll have all these handouts if you want them. So anyway, you could keep going on these later. So don't let me forget to show you at the end. So anyway, I really like to have people practice looking at, of course, and sketching things from all angles so you really understand them. So I might just start off with a box, and then that's going to just keep me know where I'm going to be here, and then kind of carve into that box. Sorry, I'm really sniffly. I'm pretty sick. I feel okay, but I sound bad. And let's see, maybe I make it a little bit taller. But you see that box? I'm looking at those proportions of how long those legs are compared to the width of the body. And they're definitely less. So whereas if you were a horse, the proportions would be a little longer. If you're an elephant, even longer, and if a giraffe, even longer. So it's really important just to get those first proportions correct before you go much further, okay? Farther, whatever it is, okay? So anyway, when I'm drawing in the field, I'm always just moving real quick. Don't have an eraser, just going really lightly. And just kind of getting more details as I go. So working on the head, big old jaw, big old healthy horn, and that square lip, big strong jaw, and that big strong hump in the white rhino to help hold up with all the muscles and ligaments, that big old head. And then the main part of the shoulder, and the side view is where you can see that second hump that we saw in the skeleton. So again, when we're doing this, we're imagining those bones underneath. Okay. And let's see, we got some wrinkles here, and then down to the legs again, belly. How are we doing? Let's see. Okay, you guys still with me? So yeah. So then, again, I always start off really symbolic, like two big rectangles, and then I'm going to get more realistic as I go. Making sure that's a nice big belly. And then, imagining again where those underlying bones are. So like we know that shoulder blade is under here, and we've got that elbow right there, just like we have the knee right here. So try not to over round things. Try to show those. All right. And so, yeah, that front leg has got that same fold of skin that we saw here. And then it gets kind of narrower and then fatter again. Same thing with elephants. It looks kind of funny that it's almost, have kind of got a skinny part. And then, of course, you can see some of the separate toes. They have 3 toes. Again, they're the odd-toed ungulates. So they're going to have 3 toes, whereas a tapir has 3 and the horse has just 1. All right. Right, and then so we got that back, and then remember we imagining that those hip bones underneath. Scruffy little pathetic little tail. It's not a beautiful flowing tail like a horse. And yeah, the African zebras, they don't have a very good tail either. And sometimes the stallions will actually bite off the tail of other ones they're competing with. Now, if I wanted to just shadow those back legs a bit, I could. And if I wanted to give some more emphasis here, takes a while to get the head more realistic. They have this really dish-shaped forehead. All righty. Let me see. I need you guys keeping up? How you doing? Are you enjoying this? Are you following along? We only have 6 live viewers. Hopefully there'll be more in the replay, maybe because it's a weekday, or maybe because nobody cares about rhinos. I hope there'll be more people in the replay. Again, the best way to have empathy and understanding for something is spend time looking at it and drawing it. And so it's a great activity for people of all ages and kids too. Okay, so you ready for this one? This is a really complicated one. Let's not do this one because it's kind of similar 3/4 view to this one. This one's really fun. I don't want to spend too much of your time. I just want to put the rest of this guy here. Okay, let's make him nice and big. And oh, hello, Jacqueline from California. Wonderful. You're in California. And Carolyn, you're watching first and sketching on the replay. That's fine. It's really sometimes helpful to watch my demonstrations, although, every artist does things a bit differently. But yeah, and again, this is the way I'm going to draw something in the field, not if I was going to do like a biological illustration of it. But of course, as a biological illustrator, I love to do these field sketches where I'm studying something and really learning about its behavior and anatomy and how it moves and its different stances and postures so that I then can make a realistic drawing. Like the drawing I did for the cover of the Habitats of Asia, which I'm not sure when that's coming out. It might be a couple years from now. Okay, so let's draw this one. And again, this is the white rhino, the biggest and most populous. And I'm going to draw it a little bit bigger than real life because that's good practice too. I'm just going to try to use up the rest of this. And, we see it's basically a square, kind of like house shaped, isn't it? So yeah, I'm just going to make that first. And then this guy's really foreshortened. So really notice that this head is as big as the rest of the body, and the width of the head is wider than the whole rest of the body. So we're starting with basically the shoulder up here, and then we're going to have a big ear coming out here and here. And then we're going to really emphasize that huge head. Okay, so that's basically where the head's going to go. And then the rest of the body is going to come down here. Kind of here, okay? Alrighty. And so, and also you could check your proportions. Again, if I looked at the width of my head, it's bigger. The width from the jaw to the horn is about the same as the whole rest of the body. So, like if I kind of got that horn in here, and if I looked at that width, perfect. See how I did that? Okay, good. Alrighty, so then let's put some more emphasis on this head. So that big shoulder that the white rhino needs to hold up that massive head because, again, it's a grazer with that big square lip. It's putting that head on the ground all the time compared to the black rhino. So that's why it needs much more musculature here. So the more you know about an animal's lifestyle and behavior like that, then the more you can understand why it has certain anatomy. Notice that that's nice to get that ear in front of that hump. You see, he's got a little point on that ear. So I'm just going to do that, emphasize that to help show that it's in front. All righty. And then where are we? Okay, so we got so coming down here, you've got one of the horns coming onto the face. And then the front horn is always the bigger one. And it's sad reality, but it's helping that one of the conservation measures is cutting their horns off or dyeing the horn to make it not worthwhile, not to make it worthless for the poachers. So yeah, and then again, if you understand that this guy's behavior is it's on the ground with its mouth grazing grass like a horse. It's got that big square lip, kind of more like a horse. So a different shape of lip compared to the black rhino, who's a browser, more like a deer. They've got that big, strong jaw. And then let's not forget the eye. Kind of figuring out where the eye is supposed to be by sort of triangulating. I think about here. And the eye is pretty darn small. They have a pretty bad sense of vision, but they do have good hearing and good sense of smell. Let's give them a little bit of personality with some lines, wrinkles there, opening the eye a bit. Okay, and then we've got that rest of that hump, and then more of the back of the shoulder there, and some of the neck, and the neck. And then we can, yeah, I like to kind of, again, draw as if I'm understanding each part of the body. So we had the head first, then we had more of the shoulder area, and that shoulder coming down, and it's really wide there. Again, the width of that shoulder is about as much as the width of that. Yeah. So sometimes your eye is going to want to fool you. You're not going to want to believe it. So it's helpful to measure. So we've got a big wide leg there. And then the other leg is coming farther down here. So that shoulder, imagining again that pectoral girdle and the scapula and forearm and that big wrinkle. And then we've got that leg and it's lifted up. So you can't really see all of it. You see the back of the toe. And so, yeah, imagining the bones underneath. And you can see a little bit of that toe back there. I think you can see a little of a toe here too. And here. All right, how we guys doing? You still here? Oops, let's see. Okay, and then just noticing where that leg, that it has a really funny angle. It's really wide, and then it gets skinny, and then it gets fat again. And going up, you see it kind of lines up with where the eye is. Oops, I'm a little bit too far ahead. Maybe I have his head going out that way more. But anyway, close enough for government work, as they used to say when I worked for the Forest Service. Do, 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 do. Something like that. Now strengthening that. And again, we're going to give them 3 toes. We can really mainly only see this first toe, and the other 2 toes, we see the edges of them. And then we see that ankle angle, and then kind of the fat chest area with some bunch of wrinkles there. And then we're going to see that other leg back there. And maybe I'll just shadow that. It's good, the difference between photography and illustration that I just love is you can really emphasize things that you want to emphasize, things that are closer to you. And so, yeah, that back leg. You can also see the back leg, the other back leg, which is kind of back here. So you see how that can start to look a little messy. But if I really strengthen this, because this is coming towards us, this is probably the closest part. Well, his snout too, but of the rest of the body, this ain't part of the leg is probably the closest to us. So if you really want to work on the art, the idea of something coming towards you, you would put a lot more emphasis on this to make it look like it's really coming towards you. All right. Then, okay, so we got that. And we got some, yeah, it's kind of wrinkly here and some wrinkles here. You can tell me in the chat box if anybody's ever seen a rhino at a zoo or in the wild. I know some of my viewers have actually been to Africa even recently. One of my students in the Nature Notebook Club has recently been there. Another one is planning a trip. So if you're planning a trip someplace, even if it's Africa or whether it's just, on the Oregon coast or something, it's good to practice sketching something before you go. The things you expect to see. All right, the last part is the back of the animal. And now that we understand and we've been drawing and looking at the skeleton and photos and videos, we know what we're looking at here. And so if you hadn't studied this, you might be tempted to just kind of draw a straight line here. But really notice that right here, there's an angle. It's subtle, but that's this angle here, right? That's this angle right here that we talked about and we saw in the skeleton. It's a bump in the actual skeleton. And again, it really helps to understand that stuff first. And when you've looked at something sideways and from the front and from 3/4, you can draw it much more accurately. So that really subtle bump there is this same bump here. All righty. And then in this view, we don't see any of this back end, but we do see the big old fat belly. And that's coming down right here. And let me see. Okay. So, yeah, I'm pretty good. So my first box was a bit too big, but I modified it after I got the head. Then I drew everything else in proportion to the head. How we doing, you guys? Anybody drawing along with me? I'd love to know. It gets really lonely teaching online. Okay, so again, if I was in the field or at the zoo, I wouldn't have time to go much farther. I might just use the side of my pencil and notice where there's some shadows, like a shadow under the lip here and a shadow on the jaw and the shoulder, and deeper shadows here. And well, all this is in more shadow. And here, and here. And then this is the deepest shadow. All righty. David said you saw John Wayne in a movie with rhinos. Don't remember the title. They were too fast to sketch. Great. And so, yeah, and again, if I'm at the zoo and I'm watching a few of these guys and they're moving around, maybe I'll just keep working on it, especially if, one of them kind of comes into a more similar pose. I can just keep adding more details. But again, the beauty of drawing versus photography is I can really push this part coming forward. You see how I haven't put much detail here, but this part can be 10 feet closer to us than this part. And so if I was just doing a straight ahead biological illustration, I'd be putting just as much detail back here as I do here, but I don't want to do that. I want to emphasize that this guy's really coming towards us. And even though the white rhino is supposedly more docile than the black, it's still a 7,000-pound animal. So let's give some more strength just to the front here so we can really feel like this guy or gal, I can't tell from this angle, is really coming towards us. So I'm going to just really strengthen these lines. And the lighting is pretty flat here. It's hard to tell maybe we'll have a little bit of shadowing here because there's a different plane on the side of the face as there is on the top of the face. And a little bit more detail here. All right. But yeah, it's easy to want to keep just drawing everything and get more detail everywhere. But I really like to emphasize, try to make something look, like it's coming towards you. And some of you are members of the Nature Notebook Club, and you'll know that one of your founding bonuses on the announcements page is on perspective drawing. And I think I give an example of these same rhinos in that workshop. But I'm using sort of some of the same ideas to show kind of perspective and, just three-dimensional form and the illusion of some things being closer to you and some being farther away. And it's just so fun to just keep sketching here. Now this foot is pretty close to us too. Might want to put some grass in there. This foot is lifted up, so it's not next to the grass. But that front toe is closest to us. And yeah, there's some wrinkles. So we can emphasize the wrinkles here that are in the sun a bit. And here on the part that's not shaded because the rest of this is going back. So you can have fun getting a lot of details. But again, you maybe want to not put so much details here because we want to make this really look like it's coming towards us. And, maybe there's some action movement, coming towards us. And I don't know what these guys, they don't have much voice, but he might be going grunt, grunt, grunt. Okay. We're coming towards the end, and I want to make sure we look at the video one more time to see it now, since we've looked at the skeleton, we've practiced quick drawing, whether we can try to get back to that video, let's just try to sketch these guys now from using what we learned before. Okay, who's up for that? Who wants to try sketching from life now? Say me in the chat box, because we've had some good practice looking at the skeleton and then quick drawing from the photos. And if you want to just focus on the head, since we spent a lot of time on that, you can, but just move your pencils. Don't erase. Keep the pencil moving. If he moves, just draw another quick drawing. Oop, and we're gone. New ones. Pretty much when you're drawing in the field like this, it's almost blind contour drawing, is where you're mostly looking at your critter and not really looking at your drawing. And you'll see how terrible and cartoony mine are, but that's okay. Remember, it's the idea. It's what you learn while you're drawing that gets in your brain, not so much what's on the paper. Noticing that square lip. And here's the pointed lip of the browser. All righty. Well, let me show you. See, I didn't get much down, and you probably didn't either. But I hope you followed along or will watch the replay to do the longer drawings of these guys. But also I wanted to show you my course on mammals and also show you as I scroll through this link that I gave you, which is I'm giving 30% off this comprehensive course to you guys. If you scroll down on this sales page, there's a glare here. You scroll down, it's going to show you the whole course curricula. And wherever it has a darker green that says preview, that means you can watch that whole workshop. And so you just keep scrolling down, and that's where you can see that you can look at the previous workshop I did on the black and white rhino, and also the white or just the square lipped. So when you click on those, you can watch that whole thing for free. And you can download these images. Okay, and then this one too. You can download these images to learn more about them. Okay. I hope you learned a bit about rhinos, and especially if you look at those free previews inside my course, you can learn a lot more in my slideshows I have of the biology and distribution and ecology and anatomy of the rhinos. But today I did want to focus on sketching, looking at both photos and the videos from the field, and really understanding the difference between the two species that you're most likely to see in zoos, especially the white rhino or wide-lipped, square-lipped rhino, which is the biggest and the most numerous and the most docile, supposedly, of the rhinos. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope you start working or keep working on the rhino sketches. And I'd love to see them if you create them, or if you have any other questions about rhinos. Again, you can go way deeper in the full workshops that I shared with you that are on the sales page of my course. And again, that same link gives you 30% off my course. And that's where I talk about the biology of not only three of the main species of rhinos, but lots of other ungulates that live in Africa, as well as other mammals that live in Asia and, of course, North America, and mammals of the sea, like dolphins and whales, and bats as well. And next month is October. That's spooky nature month. And so we'll be talking more about bats and even vampire bats. I think actually this course, yeah, that's right. This course does have a workshop on vampire bats. So that would be fun to do if you wanted to. Yeah, that's the one on vampire bats. And I show you how to do a really detailed charcoal shaded pencil drawing of the vampire bat if you're interested with kids especially. So thanks replay viewers as well as live viewers keeping me company here while I'm sick at home today. Carolyn and Virginia and Jacqueline and David and everyone else who joined. So I hope you keep working on your sketches. And yeah, because you're going to do a lot better job after you stop listening to me talking and when you can just get in your quiet, silent right brain and just watch and draw rhinos. Okay, thanks so much for joining me and have a wonderful day. And I'll see you again, hopefully next weekend for another sketching nature in the weekend session. Okay, bye.